Hey there, everybody. Good afternoon. We welcome you into the Kumo Theater. Hope you're having a great last day here, and we're glad you're taking some time to be with us. Please welcome to the stage our next presenter. This is Damian Curry from NGINX. Feel free to scream and cheer. Feel free to scream and cheer. There we go.
All right. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So we're just here to talk a little bit about deploying NGINX Plus on AWS, especially talking about the Quick Start guide that we just released. So the main question that and the main problem we're trying to solve is how do you build these applications in AWS? You have a ton of tools, but you need to figure out how to put them together in order to build an actually scalable, resistant, resilient application. So you can leverage a lot of this functionality that Amazon has, like the Route 53 functionality for global server load balancing, classic load balancers for simple applications, the Amazon application load balancer for the more advanced application-aware health checks and layer 7 routing. And then there's also NGINX Plus, which is the most advanced load balancer really available in AWS, and can work alongside a lot of these other Amazon tools that are available for you. So we just recently released a new version of our Quick Start, and this has been built as kind of a good, easy, turnkey example of how we recommend you architect your application on AWS. So you can see here, this is kind of the overall architecture in a given region. So we have two VPCs inside of a region in separate availability zones, with a classic load balancer at the front acting as the ingress point, and then all of our applications behind it. So what we have here and how it kind of breaks down is we have NGINX Plus, that is providing the application-level routing rules and front-end load balancing. Behind that, we have NGINX Open Source that is acting as a web server and an application server, serving the application that is going to be behind the load balancer. And then we are also leveraging the auto-scaling groups for not only the NGINX Plus load balancer, but also for the application servers behind the load balancer. And we're using that Amazon Classic Load Balancer to provide that cross-AZ routing and high availability. Also, we're using the Amazon Route 53 for the global server load balancing to send that traffic between multiple regions. And then finally, the VPCs to give you that private network inside each of those availability zones. So really what we do here is we look at from the top down, and we can kind of go back to the big, pretty picture here. So we have that classic load balancer at the front. At the very top where you're using Route 53 to route to those different regions. Once it gets to that region, it hits the classic load balancer that then spreads that load across the multiple NGINX Plus instances that are running in an auto-scaling group to provide that application-aware layer 7 load balancing. Behind those NGINX Plus instances are two different auto-scaling groups providing applications running NGINX Open Source as their web server. And all together using a plugin that we have so that as the auto-scaling groups come up and down with the application, NGINX Plus will adjust its configuration in real time to add and remove those nodes without editing configuration files or restarting any services. So to get beyond the Quick Start here real quick, there's a few different, and obviously this is one of the big questions, is how do you do high availability in AWS? So we've developed a few different options here and a few different architectures that we kind of suggest people run. The kind of most basic situation that is very common to run in AWS is using the classic load balancer or network load balancer to provide the high availability and horizontal scaling for NGINX Plus behind that. So with that, you're using that classic load balancer to provide the cross-AZ availability and, again, give you that ability to scale horizontally. So as your load increases, you can simply add more NGINX Plus instances and get them behind that ELB to serve more traffic. The great part of this is it obviously offers great integration with other Amazon services like CloudFront, Route 53, and CloudWatch. And then in this case, we're using NGINX Plus to handle the layer 7 request routing, handle the SSL termination, allow you to use WebSockets and HTTP2, as well as providing active health checks and different single sign-on solutions, as well as different statistics that we expose with NGINX Plus. The next system that we have is kind of leveraging Route 53 for that global server load balancing. So this allows you to have cross-region support and be able to use the geographic information in the request to route your end users to the closest region for them so that they get the best performance out of your application. The great thing about this is obviously it provides multi-region support. You're not relying on any single piece of infrastructure. And it can also integrate, depending on your use case, with a classic load balancer, or you can use it without and route directly to NGINX Plus instances. And then, so some people, they don't want to use those elastic load balancers or the classic load balancers, and they're looking for more of the traditional active-passive options. So we've developed a couple ways to handle that in AWS. The first option, which is very familiar to anybody who runs HA active-passive nodes in regular on-prem infrastructure, leveraging Keep Alive D to migrate an elastic IP address between two instances. So this allows you to use a static IP address for your endpoints, and also allows you to not be tied into necessarily all of the Amazon functionality. You're not required to use Route 53 or anything like that. The other option that we've also developed is pretty much the same system, except instead of using Keep Alive D, we leverage the AWS Lambda functionality to provide those health checks to make sure that the NGINX instances are healthy, and if one does fail, it will go ahead and migrate and move that elastic IP address to the other node to make sure that everything stays online. One of the great things about this is actually a fully supported solution from our support team. So if you ever, if you need to do an active-passive solution and you need to have somebody standing behind it, we'll stand behind and make sure that it works properly for you guys. And then one of the big things that we've just recently released, and it's really great, we've released an auto-scaling group integration. So the standard way of doing auto-scaling groups, it traditionally has been this sort of architecture. You have NGINX Plus sitting in front, and then from there, NGINX Plus is routing to two different classic load balancers that then route to the auto-scaled group application behind it. This is kind of the out-of-the-box functionality, and it really is just kind of the standard way that Amazon tends to do auto-scaling groups. So what we've done is we've written a plugin that runs on your NGINX Plus nodes, and what it goes ahead and does is allows you to use the Amazon SDK endpoint to pull information about those auto-scaling groups. So now you can take out those classic load balancers, and NGINX will load balance directly to the auto-scaling group servers, giving you more control over all of the different routing algorithms and session persistence or anything you might need to these back-end applications. So this relies on a plugin that we call the NGINX ASG Sync tool, which is a very lightweight Go program that looks at pings the SDK endpoint on a given interval that you can set, and then depending on the configuration, will assign servers from an auto-scaling group to the different upstream groups in NGINX Plus. And so currently we have it, and this is publicly available. It's available on GitHub. Right now, it is designed to work with auto-scaling groups, but we're working on supporting integration with not only auto-scaling groups, but also allowing you to use regular EC2 instances by defining a regex for a tag. So then any EC2 instance can be automatically added to a load balancer group inside of NGINX as it comes online. And also we're looking to extend that to the Amazon ECS service as well, so that as those containers come up and down, they will be dynamically added. You don't have to worry about the one-to-one port mapping. It will look at what port the container is listening on and add that in. So it really makes it flexible and allows you to really extend and leverage all the different functionality with NGINX Plus in AWS. So this is a tool we're really excited about. Personally, I'm a big fan of it. You can do some really neat stuff with it. And then, of course, NGINX Plus is available in the AWS Marketplace, and the Quick Start's out there too. So I really recommend anybody who has any questions about trying to build this sort of infrastructure to take a look at it, check out our Quick Start guide, spin up an environment, and see how it works for you. All right. Well, thanks for your guys' time. If anybody has any questions, I would love to answer them when we're off stage here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Damian.